I'm listening to.
Okay, that's right.
Yes.
So we can do start the watercolour project. So today's the first day of our March watercolour project. And what I thought I'd do is go through all the absolute basics. So for many of you, this isn't going to be relevant, because some of you are quite used to watercolours. But for anybody who this is quite new to, my experience of teaching watercolours is that I found that it's quick to learn with lots of very simple exercises rather than trying anything too complicated. When I first started teaching, I remember seeing students do very elaborate drawings for about an hour and then really mess them up very, very quickly. So I find if you can find exercises that really encourage you to sort of develop your experience with the paint and the feeling of the paint, rather than intricate drawing, that's stands you in good stead. So I'll just go through all the materials to start with. So the paper is watercolour paper, and if anybody needs any watercolour paper, I've got this. It's 40p a sheet. If anybody wants any, and I've got a chopper there. We can chop it down. So the thing with the watercolour paper is it's like a sized paper, so that the washes will just sit nicely on the paper, whereas cartridge paper tends to cockle quite a bit. It's also got a little bit of texture, so that helps the washes flatten out somehow. It's fairly thick, so it won't cockle quite as much as a drawing paper, for instance. So that's the paper. Paints, I use tube paint. These ones are Winsor & Newton Cotman paint, so these are like a student quality paint. You can also get artist quality paints, which are really nice. Tend to be smaller tubes and probably about twice the price, but you're getting much more intense pigments, much stronger colours. So they're probably worth, if you're into watercolours or get into them, it's probably worth spending that bit of money. I use these from demos, and I've also got some of the artist ones I use when I go out sketching myself. That's the paint. So that's Winsor & Newton Cotman. There's also a Dale Rowney one called Apple Pie, and these are absolutely fine too. So they're quite good too. And that's I wouldn't go any cheaper than that though, because you tend to find that there's not enough pigments in the paint. There's just lots of fillers. Useful having a couple of pots of water. So one for washing your brush and then one for getting clean water to paint with, to thin the paint with. That's quite a good idea. Palettes, that's the one I use for myself just going out sketching, which is a really old tin box that I rather like one of the students gave me actually years ago, but I've got a few of these little tin boxes. Hiya! This one started off with as a little watercolour box with pans in, and I tend to just squeeze tube paint into there to top them up. Or when they've run out, I've just used the tube paint. The pans are sometimes they're all right, but they can be difficult to get the paint to hydrate really. To get deep colours can be hard. So sometimes I get an old brush and just grind away to get those going. The palette I tend to use quite a lot for classes is this one. So this is just similar sort of thing, and it's got a seal so that I can keep these are tube colours and I can keep them damp. Just leave a little bit of water in them or spray them before I put it away. And this little rubber seal keeps it all moist. So that's quite a good palette. I think it's about 12, 15 quid or something like that. So that's palettes, paper palettes, water. Brushes, you can get some quite nice brushes. That originally was quite a nice brush. It's really old now, but they're about, I don't know, 10, 12 quid. Proper sort of like, this was Proline, Pro Arts brush. There's also Dale Rowney ones and Winsor & Newton ones, and they're nice. This is a very cheap one I got in the set from Lidl's, and it doesn't seem to be too bad, so I'll use this one. So that's a little bit of material. What you find with the brushes is this is like a softer haired natural hair brush, and this holds a lot more moisture than a nylon brush will. So you can get some really nice sable brushes, and I've got one or two. they tend to be quite expensive, really going up into the hundreds if you get a bigger one. But these are a natural hairbrush, and these aren't too expensive, probably £4 or £5 or something like that. And this is quite good because I can get a wash on quickly and hold lots of moisture. So normally I would probably use that for the bigger areas, but I'll use this one just to show how you can get a flat wash if you've just got one brush. I'll use this colour here that I've mixed. So this was like the first exercise, is to just try and achieve something like that, just an area of flat wash. So the thing is to just mix lots of paint. You really need like a big puddle here. I'm going to put a little bit of moisture with that, just to make sure I've got enough. Because what you don't want is to run out sort of halfway through. And then just give that a little mix. So the paper, ideally you want your paper at just a little bit of an angle. So if you've got a board, I did have one earlier, can't find it, but I'll use that for improvise. Just have an angle a little bit like that, just a proper pencil case or something like that under one end. And that way the paint will very, very gently run down. So it won't sort of puddle in the middle or here or here, it'll just kind of gently run down to the bottom. This is far too steep, and so it will run off. I'll use this square. And what I'm suggesting for these exercises is lots of quick exercises, and perhaps keep them this sort of size. I've got a couple of, these are old sort of photo mounts. I'll just draw rectangles in there very quickly. So if you want to do some of these, I find lots of quick exercises until you've built your confidence, and then go a bit bigger. So with this one, just really loading the brush and just getting lots of paint on. And what you want to do is try and get this little bit of a bead of paint, like that. So that the paper is just holding on to enough colour. And one of the things about watercolours is it's actually quite difficult to judge what tone that is, because that looks quite dark. Yeah. But as soon as you put it on the paper, it lights up, and then when it's dries, it will lighten again. So it's loads of experience just getting used to how much and how little. What I then do tend to do is have like some scraps of paper just to try it out on first. So any failed watercolours, they can just be used for trying out the medium. So it's not supposed to, obviously you're not supposed to dribble down like that, but if you keep this bead of wet paint there, you've got a chance, it kind of keeps that edge wet, so it's not going to dry with a hard edge. It's draining out that corner. Let's get it to go down there, that's it. Then once you get to the end of that, I'll just go right to the end, to there. If you've still got paint there, you want to just drain that off. You don't want to let that sit, because what you'll find is that the water will run out and you're left with this line of pigment. So just dry brush, tend to have a bit of rag handy when I'm painting, or a bit of kitchen towel, and just gently drain that off. And that way, that should dry as a nice flat brush. So that's kind of the first exercise. I was thinking with that, you could then make something that's like a bit of a picture. So I've used this mountain image. Well, that one was off the internet, and this is one that I've got prints of. But it doesn't need to be too accurate. The idea is just to have something that makes it look like a little picture. And I did one sketch there earlier. I'll carry on. Is that it? There we go. So yeah, just get something out, and then you could then. I'll try and go a little bit lighter this time for the first wash. So I'll use the same colour and just lighten that up a little bit. So there's two approaches. You could either like paint the whole paper flat wash, and then do the next wash over the top of that, or just try and fill in each section as you go. So on this one, I've filled in the sections as I've gone. So that's the idea of getting that, first tone, and then just try and get something just a tiny bit darker for the next one. But what you'll find is you'll need to let that dry off before you go to the next one. So we've got a hairdryer over there, so you can dry with the hairdryer, or just have a few bits of paper on the go, and while one's drying, just go to another exercise. So I found that when I was practicing these the other night, just to make sure that I could still do them, because I don't do a lot of watercolours, and I just had like 3 little pictures on the go and just kept swapping them over while one was drying. And it's really hard just to make the paint dry, so the easiest thing is to carry it on the go. So that's flat washes. I just do a little bit on sort of like a graded wash. So let's use that bit of paper again. So something a bit like that, which I find really hard, and then you could try and apply it to that sort of image, which is it's this photo here that, and I've not actually used colour as such there, but that was a photo I took in Scotland about 20 odd years ago. I thought that's quite nice. You've got sort of like a graded wash there, and then soft edge here. So that if you wanted to go for that one, but I'll definitely practice a few of these first. So yeah, I'll try that with a graded wash. So if I go with this, I may go a tiny bit darker to start with. So it's a mixture of blue, and I'll put a tiny bit of black in it as well. So that can be the darkest tone. And yeah, as I say, I find this really hard to do. Then I'll go with this next tone, hopefully try and get a little bit lighter. And then a bit more water and lighter still. So the idea is to try and get a nice wash without getting it looking streaky. And I'll go just sort of water on the brush now, or the dirty water, and I'll go with the clean water. Try and, so this could be obviously useful for something like that, this kind of mountain image, or if you're painting skies or something like that, where it going from slightly darker to slightly lighter. It's not perfect, but it's the best I can do. You might find it easier with a bit bigger, like a bigger flatter brush. That might be easier because you've got a chance to actually blend it in, and also be slightly flatter. Again, it's probably an exercise if you want to get into watercolours and use them, here and there. For me, it's really a sketching medium. I don't often, very rarely, exhibit watercolours, but I do use them quite a bit in sketchbooks. So it's quite a nice medium to nice and portable. Just take the bare minimum out. Is that okay? Any questions?
It's tempting to take a long time sketching the design of the
yeah.
and then start doing the painting.
Yeah. Which, if you're confident with the paints, that's fine.
Yeah.
What I'm suggesting is just get really confident with the paint before you do. Yeah. There's all sorts of variations. You can also do like line and wash, pen and wash, and things like that. That's another way, which is really like a pen drawing and just splash it in
need a
watercolour.
lot of patience for watercolour.
I think so. Yeah. It's very, very technical, and it's very time based. You have to know how wet the paint, how wet the paint is being, how wet and dry on the paper. You have to really, there's quite a lot of technique. I remember because Pauline was really good at watercolours.
Yeah.
She was saying like it's really like lots of thinking it through.
Yes.
So I think they can look great when they're really well done, but you need, when they're not, they look a mess really. You might with a lot of there's a lot easier mediums, a lot more forgiving mediums.
There are.
Having said that, with watercolour you can then make it to a multimedia, mixed media painting if it goes wrong. It doesn't have to be just pure watercolour.
Thank you.
Okay. Right.
So Paul, is that one?
Yeah.
Look, undo that, let it dry.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. A little bit. The sorry.